representing Senate District 13, which is all of Lincoln County except for Dresden plus Washington and Windsor. 27 towns in Midcoast, Maine. And what Representative Berry and Representative Schofield said is where I'm at. And especially the last year with COVID and seeing how scary it is when folks are truly disconnected has reinvigorated my passion for this topic.
Thanks, Chloe. And Senator Bennett, our fourth co-chair.
Thank you, Seth, Tom, Chloe, great to work with you and all of the rest of you here. I'm Rick Bennett. I represent 13 towns in Western Maine, the greater Freiburg area, the Oxford Hills, and then the 4 Cumberland County Lakes region towns. So I have the kind of the gamut here. And I've been involved in broadband a long time, both in the private and public sector. And I'm going to get into a little bit later in the agenda more detail about one of my bills as kind of a exemplar for our presentations going forward. So I won't talk much about that. We'll just mention that I've been an investor and a director of GWI, which was Maine's first ISP, homegrown ISP out of Biddeford, Maine. I've been doing that since 2001. And so I have the experience of trying to do broadband in rural areas and try to make federal programs work with and seeing what does and what doesn't, have a perspective on that, kind of tactile, granular stuff from a private sector perspective. And I do think the time is right for a big, bold, hairy, audacious, bipartisan approach. And that's what I'm here for. So thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Senator. So you've met the 4 co-chairs, one from each of the major caucuses, and we do want to ask all of you to introduce yourselves in a moment. Senator Bennett will facilitate that part, but first I want to introduce to you the Maine Broadband Coalition, or at least 3 members of the Maine Broadband Coalition who are our partners in this Broadband Caucus. And we're incredibly lucky to have Andrew Butcher of the Maine Broadband Coalition, who also works for, well, maybe I should let you guys introduce yourselves. How about that? Andrew, Tracy, and Jay, why don't I hand it right over to you to save time, and you can tell us who the MBC is and who you are.
Or Tracy.
You want me to go first?
Great.
Okay, I'm Tracy Shekel, and I've been involved with the Broadband Coalition for 5 or 6 years now. I am the Marketing and Public Relations Manager for Otelco, which has 3 footprints in Maine: the Saco River Telephone Company, the old Saco River Telephone Company, Pine Tree Networks, and Mid-Maine Communication. And I am now located in Ellsworth. I was in Gray until a week ago, and I just moved. And so here I am.
Hi, everybody. My name is Japhet Ells, a Outreach and Advocacy Director with AARP here in Maine. We are proud members of the Broadband Coalition and have been obviously more recently pretty out front on this issue in terms of public engagement and education. We see it as the first issue, whether you're talking about healthcare or education or what have you. I think we can all agree that COVID situation has put this on. I'm happy to be here, and we're really proud of the work the coalition has been doing of late, and hoping to carry that forward in the next few weeks and months.
Thanks, Jay. Hi, friends. I'm Andrew Butcher. I am both the Director of Innovation and Resilience for the Greater Portland Council of Governments, as well as the staffing capacity for the Maine Broadband Coalition, which gives me a long and annoying title, but nonetheless, it's great to be with you today. I'm speaking to you from the West End here in Portland, just a stone's throw from Representative Wood's house. You know, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Broadband Coalition, we're a 1,800 member organization statewide that is guided by a 30-member advisory committee representing all geographies, industries, and sectors around the state, with a common focus around increasing access to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet. It was a pleasure to help facilitate a bond campaign in support of last year's broadband bond. And the coalition is pleased to be supporting the co-chairs and facilitating the caucus, and really view ourselves as your partner on policy and programming around shared goals and priorities. So I'm excited to hear and to help curate some of the learning sessions and discussion with you. I will be serving as your Zoom moderator, so feel free to chat me questions or comments, and I'll be monitoring the waiting room for folks who come in as well. We'll talk more about some of the process and the schedule in a few minutes, but back to you, Seth. Nope, you are muted.
First time tonight. I'll do it again, I'm sure. So that gives you a flavor for who the Maine Broadband Coalition is. They are just fantastic. They worked super hard and successfully to help pass the bond that many of us voted for $15 million last November. And they're just a very diverse group. So please look to them as a huge resource. I think I joked that, just if we were going off on an adventure together, into the wilderness of Maine, we might want to hire a Maine guide. And I asked Andrew and Jay and Tracy to be our Maine guides on this adventure. So looking forward to that. I think you all had in the initial invitation to this, a rough idea of how we envision the meetings unfolding between now and late May. So I hope that's helpful. I just want to remind you that that's there. It is kind of subject to change based on some of the feedback we got from you tonight. So don't get too attached to that. We really want to make this work for everyone. I think I've talked about what we plan to do tonight, and just introducing everyone will take some time. So I want to get to that quickly, but why don't I hand it back to you, Andrew, first to just talk about ground rules for the caucus as our Zoom moderator, and then we can dive into Senator Bennett facilitating a go around of the whole caucus.
Oh, great. So you all, we all are living on this interaction these days. And I think our co-chairs have wisely set a stake in the ground, aiming for an hour-long meeting. We can cover a lot of good ground in 45 minutes to an hour. But as such, we all need to work together, especially if we continue to see this kind of turnout. And so just wanted to clarify, this is our intent is that this is a space to learn, to share priorities, to give voice to concerns. Time is going to be limited, of course, and I'm really excited to, ensure that we've got, a communication system of mutual respect. Just as there will be limited time for everyone to speak around all of the issues and thoughts that they have. So we're gonna, this is an exciting time to try out this kind of method, but I think there's way more goals, shared goals and priorities than those that are different. And we will be talking through schedule of activities later in the conversation tonight. I will say that we are building out time to share the proposals and bills that you all have submitted over the course of the next couple of weeks, but the co-chairs asked that each session have a little bit of a learning nugget, and that we both draw upon some best-in-class practices that are happening here in Maine, as well as try to point towards some best-in-class practices outside of Maine. So our goal is to both share and learn and pique interest and hopefully inspire. And we'll definitely need your input to do that as well. And I've got some questions for you at the end of the session as well. So to you, Senator Bennett.
Thank you very much. I want to say a big thank you to the Maine Broadband Coalition for lending us to you. I know you're a group of volunteers really in association that is now helping this association. So wonderful. And this is the way collaborations work well. So thank you very much for your time. I count 18 legislators aside from the co-chairs on the call. So we've got scheduled 20 minutes. So I'm going to get right to it, and forgive me because I'm new to the legislature. That's my excuse. And if I mispronounce your name or miss your office, please forgive me. But I'm just going to start at the top, and you can yell at me if I miss somebody. But I'm going to just start on my screen and ask Representative Ziegler, Paige Ziegler, if you could just no more than a minute, just say who you are really and why you're here. What brings you to this meeting? Thanks.
Yes, I represent District 96. I was involved in the 80s when we were using satellites to move data across both through the military and through the university systems. And what I saw as it evolved was just phenomenal, the amount that we could go to real time. The future of our state, because it's a rural state, is with broadband, and that'll facilitate our medicine and reduce the costs. And there, I got it under a minute, didn't I think?
You did. Great. Thank you so much for setting the pace. Representative Stover?
Good evening. My name is Holly Stover. I represent House District 89. It includes the 6 coastal towns in Lincoln County of Boothbay, Boothby Harbor, Southport, Edgecombe, Westport Island, and part of South Bristol. And half of the island of Westport has no broadband. They don't even have lines run. So it's been an incredible struggle for them during remote learning. And people were actually taking their children into Shaw's and Wiscasset to use the Wi-Fi when school was closed last spring. And they are applying for grants, but it's been a real challenge ever since I've been involved with them. And a good portion of Edgecombe, which is really kind of odd because it's right on the Route 27 corridor. But if you get very far off that main road, there's virtually none. So very interested in this subject for my constituents.
Thank you. Representative Caiazzo.
Thank you, Senator Bennett. I'm Chris Caiazzo. I represent House District 28, which is West Scarborough. It's my second term in the legislature. I spent my first term in EUT. So while my head's in VLA right now, my heart is still with EUT. As an aside, privately in my normal life, I actually do work for GWI. I'm the director of customer operations, and I did have the privilege of interviewing with Senator Bennett before he was Senator Bennett. So I won't bore you guys with those stories until we can meet personally. But my goal here, honestly, is to try and bridge the gap between the real world and our political world. I think if COVID has done nothing positive, it's definitely conveyed to us that broadband is critical. I think we all realize that and understand that. And I'm hoping that we can take the strategic vision in this room and really put some cognitive force behind it. Things like One Touch Make Ready and steps that we made, efforts we made in the last legislature are helpful, but we certainly have a long road to hoe. And I think really it's one of those, the rising tide lifts all boats. So with the brain power in this group, I think we can do some amazing stuff. And I think we can do it in this session. So I'm really looking forward to supporting everybody and getting that done.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Representative Wood.
Hi, I'm Representative Barb Wood, and as Andrew said, I live around the corner from him in the west end of Portland, District 38. I am on the Energy, Utilities, and Technology Committee, and so I am trying to be a sponge and just absorb everything I can. I will say that even though I live in Portland, I spend a lot of time in a lot of rural parts of the state. I have a lot of friends around the state. I lived for a while in Skowhegan, Norridgewock, Fairfield, lots of different places. So I do understand personally the challenges of broadband in areas where it doesn't exist. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative Dodge.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I am here, House District 97, Belfast, Northport, and Waldo. I am here because constituents are pressing me from all sides, medical, elderly, business, school. As Paige said, this is going to solve a lot of problems. but I'd like to go beyond after we have solved the problem and everyone has access and good access. After we've made all of the investments and control is turned back to the companies, how do we protect our residents from rate hikes? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Riseman.
Yes, good evening. I'm Representative Riseman. I represent District 69, which is Bridgeton, Harrison, and Denmark, which is 2 different counties. And last year at this time, I was aware of the fact that my district was not in good shape in terms of finding enough broadband coverage to cover the district. So the 3 towns together are working to try to solve the issue. I have found, from my point of view, that I have introduced the bill LD 83. It's called an act to clarify the meaning of unserved area within the state's broadband service laws. And the reason for that is that we have partial places in my district that have coverage. And when we look at trying to find capital or to raise capital or grants from the state, we're basically eliminated from getting some of those funds because we're not considered underserved or under there's unserved and then there's unserved. And from talking with folks, I hear definitions all over the place around this. So this bill is intended to clarify that so that we can all operate on the same basis.
Great, thanks. We'll be allowing at future meetings, just so you all know, a chance for us to talk about your individual bills in great detail. And so thank you though for that, Walter. And I know you represent 3 of my towns, so that's good to have you here too. Representative Dudera.
Thank you very much, Senator Bennett. Vicky Dudera, represent House District 94, Camden, Rockport, Islesboro. Islesboro is certainly a great example of a town kind of taking the bull by the horns and solving their own broadband problem, but not every town can do that. And in my work as a realtor, I really see that this is holding us back in this state as people say, I just can't live in this area because I have to have good broadband. So I served on EUT last year, certainly grateful for that experience. And I feel like this is one of the most important things we've got to do in Maine is get this up and running everywhere. Thanks.
Thank you, Vicky. And Representative Bell.
Hi, Art Bell. I represent District 47, which is Yarmouth, but also includes Chebique and Long Island. And during the campaign, I heard a lot from my constituents out on Chebique and Long Island about particularly during the pandemic, like I've heard tonight, that both from a healthcare perspective and from an education perspective, they would love to have stronger support from internet support. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Representative Gear. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, like Richard, no relation.
Okay.
Thanks, Senator Bennett. Yeah, Tracy Gear. I represent District 9, which is Kennebunkport and coastal Biddeford and Kennebunk. And I'm interested in this issue from 2 points. One is my older son, swim families will get this, was a swimmer and also went to MSSM up in Limestone. So I spent a lot of time traveling around the state in different areas and getting to know people in different areas of the state, and have understood this challenge from their perspectives in some of the rural areas. In addition to recognizing that even in some of the more populated coastal areas, there are still lots of pockets with lots of challenges, and we've really got to get that idea of consistent service delivered statewide. And then also out of those experiences, I really feel strongly about the goal of one Maine, and this is such a key way to do that when we're all connected together.
Thank you. Okay, Representative Cardone or Cardone, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Thank you. I'm Barbara Cardone. I represent House District 127, which is part of Bangor. I decided to jump onto this call at the last minute because I'm serving my first term on the Appropriations Committee. And the House Democratic Caucus has asked me to be their point person for EUT. So I'm very interested in the bills that will be coming down the pipe and what they're going to cost. Broadband is a timely bipartisan issue right now. And I think that even in this climate of budget constraints, there is appetite for expanding broadband. And I want to make it my business to know and understand what's there and what it's going to cost before the last minute flurry at the appropriations table to fund things.
Great, good to have you here. Representative Grahowski.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Good to see you. Nicole Grahowski, House District 132, which is Ellsworth and Trenton. Welcome, Tracy, to the district. I think everyone said everything that I think about all the time, but especially to Vicky's point that some communities really have the tools to move these things forward, these improvements, and others just don't. And I think we're at a point now where this is so important that the state might need to get a little, we need more money, but we also need to maybe not just wait for local control and local action to solve these problems.
Amen. Okay, thank you. Representative Bailey.
Yeah, Kyle Bailey from House District 27 includes part of Gorham and a little bit of North Scarborough. And I'm joining because I think it's really important that the entire state be connected to high-speed internet so that people can live and work in every part of the state and be successful and thrive.
Thank you, Kyle. Representative Sachs.
Hi, everyone. Melanie Sachs. I'm in House District 48, which is Freeport and part of Pownell. I'm here as part of this. Our very first bill at Tax Committee was, other than the supplemental, was around funding broadband. And I'm here to be supportive of these bills, to get a sense of the legislation and do what I can to help move this bipartisan issue forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Melanie. Representative Moriarty.
I am Steve Moriarty from House District 45, which is Cumberland and part of Gray. I am right next door to Representative Bell's district. And interestingly enough, 8 years ago, when I was first in the legislature, I represented Chebeague and Long Islands. And broadband access was a big issue back then. I don't bring any technical expertise to the table. I'm here to learn what was accomplished in the bond that was passed last fall. I'm interested in learning what remains to be done in terms of bond funding, and in particular, what is proposed in the various bills that are pending.
Great, thank you. Representative Gramlich, you round out the powerhouse from the Environment and Natural Resources Committee who showed up on this call tonight. I guess we didn't get enough of tank farms today. Go ahead.
Not hardly. Thank you, Senator. And I just would have to say I would hardly call you new to the legislature, but maybe new to the 130th. I'm pleased to be here. I represent House District 13, which on ENR I'd say is the lovely seaside community of Old Orchard Beach. Interestingly enough, 20 years ago, I had the good fortune of working for Senate President Beverly Daggett when she and Speaker Caldwell convened a task force to examine why young people leave Maine. And one of the many reasons that folks come back to Maine is because they know it's a wonderful place to live and raise their families. However, one of the barriers is the broadband connectivity that really inhibits folks to be able to do work. We know Maine has a lot of entrepreneurship and it makes it very challenging. So I'm here to, I don't have any bills in this session relative to broadband, but I definitely support the concept, understanding the really deep relationship that broadband has on our economy. And I think it's really critically important that we finally, I've been talking about this stuff that I was doing 20 years ago, and here we still are. So I'm here to help elevate and support the initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laurie. Senator Rafferty.
Thank you, Senator Bennett.
I'm here mostly to learn, and this is my first time in the Senate. I'm in Senate District 34, which is Acton, Lebanon, Berwick, North Berwick, Wells, and Kennybunk. But I am here tonight mostly because at one of the recent Governor's Commission meetings on the recovery, broadband was one of the top targets in terms of need to improve. And kind of frightening at the time, they mentioned a figure of $600 million to fix it. I don't know what that involves, if that's doable, but I'm here to see what I can do and mostly to learn. But thank you.
Great, thank you, Joe. Representative Alford? Arford, I mean, sorry.
Everybody does that, so don't even worry about that. I'm Representative Poppy Arford. I'm from the western half of Brunswick District 49. And I've always been really interested in the internet and broadband and how the whole thing works. And specifically, I've had some very meaningful experiences in the last year. My husband was a teacher in the Rockland area. And when everything fell apart last spring, it was really difficult to watch him struggling because a good number of his students who lived in the rural outskirts of town just did not have access to internet, and he had to deal with that, and it was really upsetting for him, and it was just sort of heartbreaking. And then also even in Brunswick, even though we have very good pretty much good coverage, there are still people who can't afford it. And I have a friend who has to go to the public library so that she can access the internet, and guess what, during COVID she couldn't go inside. So she had to, at the beginning of the pandemic, when the library closed down, she had to sit in her car outside the library in March when it was still very cold outside. And I knew her through a group that we participated in. It was a Zoom group. And, I desperately wanted to invite her to my house, obviously, but I couldn't, to come join us. And so that's how she was able to participate, was by sitting in her car outside the library on a cold winter's night. So we really got to do something about making it affordable as well as accessible.
Amen to that. Thank you. Representative Babbage.
Thank you, Senator Bennett. I have spent time on utilities and energy in the 122nd, and then in the 127th, it became energy, utilities, and technology, in which we started dealing with internet issues. And we've made huge strides over my time in the legislature, and yet we are so short of where we need to be. So I'm interested in the internet for purposes of business, medicine, and legal, which comes before my judiciary committee. I occasionally use the internet, and so I have a personal interest. So thank you.
Thank you. Just occasionally. Okay, well, thank you all very much. Did I miss anybody? If so, please yell.
I'm yelling.
We have look at your second screen, Senator.
Oh, did
you
it
move
open up? Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my dear, okay.
We're numerous.
I'm sorry, people added before, and I covered you over. Forgive me. Representative Cloutier.
Hi, I am Kristen Cloutier. I represent House District 60, which is part of Lewiston. And the broadband issue for me is really about equity. Lewiston is has one of the highest poverty rates, and some census districts that are really high poverty north of Boston. And so that's really important to me. I have a 12-year-old daughter in school, and her classmates are having a really hard time. And then also, I don't have any broadband bills, but I'm just really interested in what my junior colleagues are proposing this session. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about it.
Great, thank you. Representative Underwood?
Hi, I'm Joseph Underwood, a representative for District 147 in Presque Isle. And I guess everything's been said that needs to be said, and I'm here to understand and to learn what broadband is, what it encompasses, how much it costs, et cetera, so forth. With that, I'd like to say it's good to be here, and thank you.
Thank you. Representative Pebworth?
Thank you. Barb Wood said she wanted to be a sponge, and I want to be a squeaky wheel. Rather than Broadband Caucus, how about Squeaky Wheel Caucus? I put a couple things in the chat. We passed that bond with more than 74% of the vote. And I am so tired. I mean, every one of us could give example after example of the ways we need to have things be better in our district. Today in the Labor Committee, Representative O'Neill was presenting her bill and then she was frozen. We have to do better. We have to be bolder. We have to be squeakier.
Very good. Thank you. Representative Talbot Ross.
Well, it's hard to follow that. I gotta say, I'm part of the Squeaky Caucus. Then, thank you, Representative Pebworth, for that inspiration. I'm Rachel Talbot Ross. I represent House District 40, which is on the peninsula of Portland. I have the most racially and ethnically diverse district in the entire state, and one of the top 10 poorest districts in the entire state, and so. Here, like Senator Rafferty and others that said to learn, this is actually a new area for me. So I'm excited about participating. And I've followed the work of the National Digital Inclusion Initiative and wondering how that can be brought to the state. Because even though I'm in a very urban, the largest city in the state, we have very underserved broadband populations and neighborhoods. And so just anxious to work with all of you on all of your bills and to see us really bring broadband into an equitable and just position here in the state of Maine. So I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Hepler.
Hi, sorry I was late. I am Allison Hepler. I represent towns that have really spotty internet. Rouseck, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich where I live, Dresden, and part of Richmond. And I'm tired of, although I'm really impressed by two bridged island communities that I represent, Georgetown and Rouseck, for some initiatives that they're taking as a town. I think a patchwork approach to this is insane. And so I'm joining Representative Pebworth's Squeaky Wheel Caucus.
Representative Zuckerman.
Hi, I'm not a representative. I am a policy and legal director in the Office of the Senate President, and I work on matters with the EUT committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Representative Matheson.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I'm not on camera tonight. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm from District 1 Kittery, and I come from a family that does healthcare by telehealth and a husband who does teaching by video, and is near and dear to my heart. Most of my legislative bills are around telehealth, so this is very important. We in Kittery had to come up with quite a bit of money to allow our students to have accessibility to computers at home, and also many of them, even though they had a computer, didn't have broadband because they couldn't afford it. So this is an important topic, and I'm really interested in learning more. So thanks for including me.
You bet. Thank you. Representative Carlow.
Good evening, everyone. Just please forgive me. I'm in my car in between meetings, so I took off my camera, but I'm listening. I'm on the EUT committee. I serve with Seth and Representative Wood and others on that committee, representing Hollis, Buxton, and part of Saco here. And I'm glad that Tracy is on the call from Otelco, as that is the area that is served by them. So happy to see her and put a face to the organization. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Osher.
Hi, I'm Laurie Osher. I represent District 123. That's most of Orono. And I agree with the squeaky wheels and the comment that this really needs to be statewide. My town, Orono, and the neighboring town, Old Town, that is on the other side of the university, have been working for years to come up with a fiber project so that we would have better internet. And that even here where we have this affiliation with the university, we haven't been able to achieve it. And I think that if we had a statewide goal that we would all work together would be wonderful. I'd like to learn about how much that would cost and what's been tried in the past that hasn't succeeded so that we can strategize on how to succeed this time.
Great, thank you. Representative Fay, I think you bounced around my screen and I missed you.
I'm bouncy. I'm Representative Jess Fay. I represent Raymond, Pullen, and Casco, and that's House District 66. And the issue of access to broadband has been near and dear to my heart. It's one of the reasons why I originally ran for office. So for all of the reasons that have been stated here, squeaky wheels and equity and for every reason you can think of, I'm here to try to be supportive and to make sure that our state becomes one of the top states in internet access instead of one of the bottom.
Thank you, neighbor. And I believe that I may be now able to say that I caught everybody, or did I miss someone? Wow, only one mistake and a couple of mispronounced names. So forgive me for that, but thank you very much. What a magnificent turnout, for crying out loud, at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday. It's great. So thank you very much. Seth, do you want me to move right into the next section here?
Yeah, let's do that. We want to talk about some bills to give people a little taste of that, and you know, keep in mind we're gonna put everyone on the hot seat eventually. So if you have a bill, get ready to talk about it at the next meeting, because that's a big part of the plan. So
Yeah.
Bill, Rick, you want to jump in and talk about yours?
Yeah, and
Give us an example.
Yeah, I'm going to give you two bills because they're companion bills, and I worked with the Maine Broadband Coalition actually on submitting both of these bills. The first one is an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to connect Maine with world-class internet. It isn't out of the revisor's office yet, but it hopefully will be soon. It will provide a general fund bond of up to $100 million. How do you do that with Austin Powers? Dr. Evil? $100 million. And the purpose of this is, as someone mentioned, you know, the Maine Broadband Plan says that we have a $600 million need. Well, most of that's going to come out of the private sector. And also I expect that we're going to be seeing a big federal initiative here too, to build on the FCC's RDOF and the various USDA programs. And I think there's a likelihood that even this year we may see a big infrastructure bill that will include a lot of money for broadband, and hopefully we'll be in a position to take care to leverage that. The idea behind $100 million is to leverage both federal money, private sector money, and get this done. A number of you mentioned that you're done with a patchwork quilt. Connect Maine Authority, by the way, does a great job of reacting to municipal needs. You get a selectman and the local chamber head in a given town, and they come and they want some help. Connect Maine's really good at that, but they got like 2.5 people. And so it's we need to do two things. And this first bill I'm talking about is designed to provide the juice that would be money that we can leverage for building the broadband across the whole state. One Maine, as somebody said. And the goals of this bill are to build world-class, affordable, high-speed internet infrastructure, reach 98% of Maine premises within 5 years. A lot of us already mentioned the purposes for this, from telehealth, attracting and retaining workers, ensuring remote learning opportunities. I think also bolstering our flourishing arts community, enhancing democracy for free and open exchange of ideas, to helping our family members with connectedness. We've learned that in the last year about how important that is. And to advance industry-led public initiatives that grow key innovation sectors. So I've put that in the statement of purpose. I think that to do this right, this money needs to be carefully spent. And when there's public money involved, there needs to be a public purpose involved, and there need to be protections for the money. Grant funding should maximize public value, in my view, and the clear public value to me, as I articulate in this bill, means affordable, reliable, secure, fast, future-proof, and neutral networks. Affordable, on that means that we should give extra points to solutions that will give customers lower costs. Fast means that extra points should be eligible for applications that are at least 1 gigabyte symmetric. Reliable means that every bid for public funding should have a minimum reliability commitment as deemed by an appropriate regulatory authority. Future-proof means that the public investment ought to be infrastructure that will last for decades, not just 5 or 10 years. Secure means that we need to design security in from the ground up, and there ought to be security practices. In my view, I know this is going to be challenging, but there should be an open access infrastructure that allows for competition between service providers and choice for consumers who will be favored. We should favor those people providing choice for funding. And network neutral means that providers using public funds should not be allowed to block websites or charge extra for not slowing down the internet. Now, along with this bill, I have another bill which deals with the other side of the big problem as far as I can see it, which is that we need not only money, but we need capacity. And the capacity here is the capacity of the Connect Main Authority that I referred to. The challenge is that with 2.5 people, it's hard to do a lot. I know that the Connect Main Authority itself has been talking about remaking its governance. I sat on the last meeting, and I think they're heading in the right direction, and this bill would continue that movement that they're already doing. The Connect Main needs to have the scale so that it's fit for the purpose of actually implementing a statewide strategy. That doesn't mean, it might mean helping municipalities as part of that. But as several of you mentioned, in my view, we need to take a much more strategic approach of logical builds in logical places. So I would like to see Connect Main Authority made an independent quasi-governmental authority comparable to the Maine Technology Institute. It should have a board appointed by the governor meeting certain requirements confirmed by the state, very much like the MTI, where we should codify the fiduciary responsibility. We need to expand the technical, community, and sector-based oversight of the board. And we need to staff it appropriately with professional and technical skills fit for purpose. All of this, much of this we can lift almost directly from the Maine Technology Institute statute, which most everybody says has been a success. Nobody I've heard have said that it's not a well-functioning, focused organization. So Connect Maine needs to have the ability to receive federal grants and loans. It needs to have the ability to partner with private sector entities and other units of government. It should be able to take security interests in the assets. It should be able to issue revenue bonds, and it should manage its own procurement. Right now, it's buried, as you know, in the DECD, and it limits its dexterity and its nimbleness. It also should have the ability to audit performance to make sure we're getting what we're paying for and to claw back monies from non-performing partners. So I think it's really important that we not only provide the money, but we do it in a thoughtful way, and we also build the capacity soonest at Connect Maine so that we can take advantage of the monies that I think will be available from the feds and private sectors. I will say this, many of you may have heard the news yesterday, maybe you tuned in, but Consolidated, for example, Consolidated Communications has just partnered with a private equity fund, and they're spending $250 million between 2022 and 2027 to overbuild their own copper network with fiber. This is a huge thing. They're planning to reach 450,000 households. So when you think about $600 million, a lot of money, yeah. But when you have private sector stepping up with, in this particular case, with over $200 million, I know other private sector businesses are thinking along the same lines of major tens of millions of dollars of investment. And then the federal money, if we can make sure that we have some state money available, I think and the capacity to spend it well, I think we can do it. And I think this is the year this is the year right now to get this done and do it in a big, hairy, audacious, bipartisan way. Thank you.
Oh, Senator Bennett, that was great. Thank you. It is 6:53. So, and just to really honor our commitment to be done by 7 sharp, I am not going to share my bill, but I want to make sure that we talk about Senator Bennett's briefly. If there's anyone, and I think what I want to do is this, if you have a clarifying question about his bill, if you want to understand it better, then now's your time. We can all opine on these bills, and I'm sure we will, in committee and so on and so forth. You can show up to testify for it, against it. By the way, I sponsored the $100 million bill 2 years ago, so I hope Senator Bennett has more success than I did. It was a great hearing, incredible turnout from so many different stakeholders, but money's tight. So anyway, quick clarifying questions. Barb Wood.
Andrew just asked people to raise their hand if they didn't know what open access meant. And so I raised my hand because I think I know what it is, but I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so this is going to be an issue because open access basically means that you're building, well, I'll simplify it, but a dark fiber kind of thing. So in other words, open access means that you're building a network that you allow anybody access to provide service across. So you're just providing the pipe, if you will. You're providing the fiber. And then various ISPs can come in and bid to provide service over that. You could do it in a bidded, there's various ways to do this, right? And maybe different parts of the state may yield different things. That's why it gets complicated in a hurry. And I think we need an agency that can be nimble and focus on the big prize, which is connecting all of Maine and leveraging other people's dollars. But, if you're Spectrum, you're consolidated and you're building, or GWI, and you're building although we believe in open access, you're building a pipe and you're paying for it. You want your services to go across it. So that's the challenge. And so open access is to be desired. The 3-ring binder, for example, was an open access middle mile network, and that was a dark fiber network. It is owned now by First Light, and it's still open access, which means that if GWI or Consolidated or Spectrum want to sell services across it, they can at reasonable rates.
All right, so Senator Bennett, she
sorry.
picked your favorite topic, but we're going to go into the lightning round. Laurie Gramlich.
Thanks, Seth. Just really quickly moving forward, I'm just curious if there'll be a way to facilitate opportunity for folks to sign on as co-sponsors if folks want co-sponsors, so that we can just kind of work in a block moving forward, because I'd be interested, Rick, and if you would like sponsorship, I'd be happy to do so. So I'd love to be able to have that opportunity.
Thank you.
For all the bills that we're going to be talking about.
That's great. I think showing up, we kind of know who the players are, so we can look for each other. It's too bad we only get 8 on the jacket, but Chris Caiazzo.
Thank you, Seth. I know you're an uber organized guy. Is there a way for us to get, you probably already did this, I don't know, is there a way for us to get a list of all the bills? As I know some of them are still in the revisor's office, obviously, but if we could have a running list, that would certainly help me if, as they come up and be flagged in other venues, we can see those and be like, right, we got to get on those.
Good idea. Excellent
idea. We will do that. Yes. And I think the Broadband Coalition is tracking titles already, not knowing exactly what's in them. Paige Ziegler.
Yeah, Consolidated is going to spend this money. Are they going to, they're regulated now, correct? But if they start another company within a company, they won't be regulated. And will that be analogous to what happened with cable? And then will they be able to charge without regulation? And
that's a separate hour or two to discuss. But great question. We'll talk more about what it means to be regulated, who regulates what. Those are all super important questions that we don't have time for. Sorry, Paige. And am I missing any other questions? All right, I'm going to hand it back to Andrew to kind of wrap it up here. We have a survey for you, and Andrew, what else?
Do we have a next meeting?
Great conversation so far. I'm tracking questions and also putting together information to share with you in preparation for the next session, which, by the way, if you haven't marked your calendar, is Wednesday, February 24th at 6 p.m. We will be sending a webinar registration link, which allows everybody to register. It will also allow for your special guests and or members of your districts to also join if folks so want to do so. It will allow for us to have a conversation among ourselves, but allow for spectators if they would like to join as well. So look for that invitation coming from us in the near future for February 24th. I'm also, as we speak, posting a link to a very quick survey form. I hope that was the right link. I think it was. For you all to help inform what future conversations are going to be. Should take a quick minute, but this is going to help inform the schedule and structure for the coming weeks, as Senator Bennett and Representative Berry identified. Everyone who's submitted a bill will have the opportunity to speak through it a little bit and receive some questions and have some discussion, but we're also going to be curating a learning agenda in parallel to that. So this will help us along those lines. Lastly, I know it's 7 p.m. We're going to end right on time from my standpoint. If you haven't already shared the speed testing effort with your districts, with your constituents, please do so. This is one of the best efforts in the country in generating crowdsourced real-time data around where there's internet service and who's providing it, how it's performing. This is a critical piece of data to help everybody. And it's available at the main broadbandcoalition.org if you haven't already been there.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to our next meeting. Please bring your favorite bill to talk about, and we'll see you all then. Don't forget to fill out that survey and keep in touch.
Thank you.
How's that go, Rick? Okay.
Live long and prosper. We're all geeks. Geek squeaks.
I think this is a geek caucus. That's what we should call ourselves.
The squeaky geeks. The squeaky geeks.
The squeaky geeks. There you go.